Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I would like to cover The Savage Sword of Conan, Volume 3, the Dark Horse Comics Essential Collection. The thing I would use, or the word I would use to best characterize this volume, Volume 3, as we look at this gorgeous Earl Norham cover, is eclectic. A lot of the creators that we see in here, of course, dominated by Roy Thomas on the writing side, but on the art side, we start to get a very eclectic group of artists coming in. Now, it's still a lot of John Buscema, Alfredo Alcala in this one, but we're also going to see Gene Colan, Frank Brunner, Dick Giordano, and I know it's an odd name to think of in association with Conan, but he actually does a pretty solid issue in here. And we're going to see our first taste of Ernie Chan in Savage Sword of Conan. So, pretty exciting collection overall. Very enjoyable. Let's dive in and page through this. Very excited to share this. If you are enjoying these collections, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. We have our table of contents here as usual, which guides us in terms of creation, the creators behind each issue. Barry Smith actually shows up again here in the first issue with this illustrated poem by Robert E. Howard. Very nice black and white Barry Smith artwork here in the beginning. And this is, I think, a fragment from originally printed in Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian 24. And so our first full issue is issue 25. And we have a pretty great cover here from Brian Moore. Awesome. Cover price at the time was $1. Published 1977, December. And it's the Jewels of Gwahlur. And this is the Dick Giordano story to lead us off. Written by Roy Thomas, adapted by Roy Thomas, with pencils and inks by Dick Giordano. And this is one of my favorite Howard stories for Conan. And I really do love Dick Giordano's pencils and inks on this. It's very interesting that he did this. He didn't do a lot of work for Marvel, but here he is involved in this adaptation of one of the best Howard Conan stories. And it's pretty awesome. Of course, this woman was part of an elaborate con. She was supposed to be the goddess, or the representative of the goddess Yelaya, and Conan, of course, sees through her deception, and then she sort of becomes his companion from that point on in the story. Pretty great. Once again, showing here the grisly nature of Savage Sword, the sort of violence, the Hyborian Age violence that could not be depicted in the regular Conan color comic we would see in many of the pages of Savage Sword. And here you can see Giordano's figure work is not as strong or dynamic as John Buscema's, for instance, or even some of the other artists we're going to see in this collection. But he is a fantastic storyteller. He knows how to lay out a story, and he does it so well in this adaptation. Oh, I love that mural on the wall there. He has an understanding of how to use the black and white medium to his advantage. And maybe that's because he was an inker for so long, mainly, and not a frontline penciler, but really more of an ace inker. Best known, I think, for his work over George Perez on the New Teen Titans. Although Romeo Tangala certainly did probably more Titans issues than Giordano. Oh, I love this picture of the idol here. Within is a chamber hewn out of solid rock. On a granite throne sits the monstrous and obscene Taor, god of Palishti. And there in his lap sprawls a limp white figure. So it's Muriela, the woman who was masquerading as Yelaya. She relates what happens and how she got there. And here they're making their escape. Probably my favorite scene in the story, as there are these dual bridges at different heights, when it's shown very well here over the valley. And Of course, down in the actual valley itself, there's going to be a scene of carnage as we get our first ape sighting of the book. All these creatures have more of a lupine look to them, but they are certainly ape-like in their manner and the way they move. The following moment, the servants of Bit Yakan surge like a bursting flood from hell toward the black priests, who stand like horror-blasted images. And then there is slaughter, grim and appalling. So here they're just tearing these guys apart. Pretty awesome action from Giordano. And of course, fantastic exposition from Roy Thomas. And of course, one of them pursues Conan and Muriela. Conan has the goods, he has the treasure, and he puts it down, asks Muriela to look after it so he can deal with their pursuer, their ape-like pursuer. And of course, he smites him here in this great scene, but not enough. The thing is supernaturally strong, slaps him to the lower bridge, where he miraculously pulls himself up from the abyss. And then the creature, sorely wounded, but still capable, goes after Muriela, who has the treasure, and he recovers it too. But his injuries get the best of him. As the thing falls, both girl and jewel chest topple from its nerveless hands toward the snarling waters below. And here Conan has to make a fateful decision, the cask of treasure or Muriela. And he chooses Muriela because while he is a savage and a barbarian, especially when it comes to women, he often does the right thing. And he takes care and saves her. And they climb out of the valley, pursued by the ape-like creatures, but they will not leave the bounds of the valley. So Muriela and Conan escape to plan a new scheme. Great pin-up by Steve Gahn here. We'll see a few of these. Here's a nice one by Tony DeZanuga, who I should say we're going to see a good bit of in this volume as well. Here we have a great cover by Jim Starlin. That's a very Starlin-esque work there. This is Savage Sword 26. So here we are, our first John Buscema, Tony DeZanuga pairing. This is going to be the next two issues, Beyond the Black River. And this is a great story. It's been adapted a number of times. Black and white here and then color elsewhere. And of course we see Conan in his, I think this might be one of the only times he wears this sort of ridiculous horned helmet here. I never liked him in this helmet, but it's almost part and parcel with the Beyond the Black River story because I believe Howard describes it pretty vividly in the story. And he teams with Balthus in this issue for most of the issue, who's sort of like almost like the reader's eye view character, where Conan is almost a supernatural force in some of the things he's able to do in the story. Totally great. And of course, the two of them will eventually be, or at least Balthus, I think, gets captured by the Picts and Conan has to free him. This is a great splash page here. DeZanuga's inks on Buscema's pencils are really nice. I enjoyed a lot of Tony DeZanuga's inks and pencils on the Arak series from DC. They're basically their barbarian title that Roy Thomas did for them when he left Marvel. But I really like his inks on John Buscema's pencils. They're very nice. I almost want to say I like them more than Alfredo Alcala's. Oh, here's Balthus getting captured. He wakes up in a very difficult position here. Look at this. They're very lush. They're almost reminiscent of Rudy Nebres, although Rudy's inks are a little more distinctive. We're not going to see, I don't think, any Rudy Nebres in this volume. We'll get to him in later volumes as I go through this 22-volume series. And, of course, there's Zogar Sog, one of Conan's great nemeses in the Howard stories, in the Howard canon. And he has the ability to call beasts from the forest, the primeval forest of the Picts, and the saber-toothed tiger. This incredible page here, an open page essentially, no panels, but brilliantly laid out by our artists and telling exactly the horrific end of this other captive. Just so powerful, and here he is just dragging this poor guy off into the wilderness. And Balthus is just gobsmacked. And what comes next? This giant snake, because if it's not a giant ape, it's going to be a giant snake, right? We've seen a lot of that in our first, now 3 volumes of this wonderful journey through Savage Sword. And of course, Conan shows up, and he's going to save Balthus. And here we have another ape. A lot of ape action. They made a liar out of me. We do get a Rudy Nebreeze pin-up in this one. I had forgot about this. And this might be the first Rudy we've seen in the first 3 volumes. Here we are, the continuing story of Beyond the Black River, the Children of Jebel Sog. We have our same art team, Buscema and Dizanuga. And I think in this issue, they're even more tuned. Like, it's almost like Dizanuga that spent that first issue sort of figuring out Buscema's pencils. And now he's really, really humming in terms of the inks here. Just phenomenal stuff. Conan with that helmet on. We get some shots of Conan in action here. And here we get a nice reaction from Balthus here. Conan, do you need any? In time to evade, just barely, a savagely hurled axe. If Balthus wonders, for a split second, which of the picks threw the weapon, his wondering ends, as that self-same savage leaps after it with lifted knife. So they struggle, and then he notices Conan. It is then, for the first time, that he truly realizes the full strength and ferocity of the embattled Cimmerian. 2 of his attackers are shorn half asunder by his broadsword, even as Balthus stares, and another impaled on cold steel a short moment later. One squat savage, wiser than the 3 dead fellows, stoops, arrows in hand, for his fallen bow. But before the picks can straighten to fire, a red sword hurls through the air to cleave him through the abdomen and spine. Just incredible. And then Conan, unarmed, Balthus makes an incredible throw with his hand axe, and then Conan does the rest, unarmed against this pick lunging for him. He just basically throttles him and hurls him aside dead. So really good stuff. And here Balthus picks up a canine companion. Here the picks are assaulting a fort. This story, Beyond the Black River, is very much like a Western. It could have just as easily been a Robert Howard Western. He wrote more than a few of those. And, it's the whole idea of on the frontier, the native populace is striking back because of the incursion of a colonizing force. And those 2 cultures clashing. This shows the grim horror of the whole affair right here with this poor dead woman. Eventually, Balthus and Conan separate to do. Conan goes to warn the fort of the coming picked horde, and Balthus is trying to protect the settlers outside of the fort. And the 2 of them, him and his dog, face a horde of picks at the end. Meanwhile, Conan faces a supernatural foe, the supernatural essence of Jebel Sog. You shall see and carry the knowledge with you into the dark land. Zogar Sag is my brother, a child out of a woman of Gwahlur, who slept in a grove sacred to Jebel Sog. I too am a son of Jebel Sog, out of a fire being from a far realm. So he's like a demonic ally, and Conan has to fight him in this amazing combat melee sequence here. And he ends up defeating him with fire. And Balthus doesn't make it, but the fort is saved. And here we have our cover issue, Savage Sword 28. Gorgeous story by Buscema and Alcala. So we're back to Buscema and Alcala. This one has a lot of really cool desert action. And we get to see eventually Conan will hit the desert in some a turban and some other desert regalia. The other thing that's neat about this issue that's not super common in a lot of these issues is we get to see Conan's archery skills as he takes down foes at range with his bow and arrow in his quest to find this hermit who supposedly is hiding a great treasure. So we get a lot of action, and even Conan's enemies get on the action with this particular tribe of desert dwellers is known for using crossbows. I love the tall war swords too. I like the curved swords. I know Conan is famous for his broadsword, but I always liked it too when he wielded a tall war now and then, and of course his foes do throughout this story. It's almost like the Alcala inks in this particular story aren't quite so heavy as the ones we have seen in previous stories in Volume 2. They are in spots, like he'll pick his spots. And it's so great here. This, of course, this incredible bestial being was in fact the hermit Conan sought, his old-time friend. Something happened to him, something changed him, made him this huge bestial monster. And Conan is forced to string him to the stalagmite until he can figure out what to do with him. And Conan's erstwhile foe here ends up becoming his temporary ally, as this guy has led a tribe of vengeful desert dwellers right to their position here at these caves. And once again, we get to see the archery on display of our two now protagonists. And these action panels here are just fabulous. I love when Buscema will use the open panel and then sort of anchor it with a closed panel in the corner like he does here. Great use of the shading too behind it. I don't know if that's Zipatone or what that is, but it looks phenomenal here. Even as he drags the bodies of the slain back toward the ledge, Conan is certain that shaft had not been in existence when he had accompanied Al-Wazir here. Did the now mad holy man build it then, and for what purpose? So there is a mystery afoot here. Again, his alliance with this guy Valen is still holding. Here we have the leader of the desert dwellers. Great shot here in the open panel, bounded by these two closed panels. Awesome stuff. So great. The emotion, the passion conveyed in the characters' faces in this black and white artwork is astounding. It really puts anything that we see now with all the technology available to shame, really. It just comes down to the fact that professionals like Buscema and Dizeneuga were just masters of their craft. Absolute masters. So Valen does eventually turn on Conan because he wants this treasure too. And we get this incredible sequence of those two fighting. And give this guy credit, he's a rotten individual, but Conan, as formidable as he is, has to work hard to defeat him. As even Valian's iron wrist grows numb under the terrific blows, the Cimmerian rains on his guard. Believing himself to be the barbarian's superior in sheer skill with a sword, the Aquilonian begins the preliminaries of an intricate maneuver. Conan's wild slash seems to mean that he is fooled by it and cast off balance by the follow-through of his own wild attack. Yet, even as Valen prepares to deliver the death blow, he knows that he has been tricked and that Conan stands ready for him. Oh gods, no! Yes! And he runs him through. Man. And here Conan is very regretful. I wanted to believe you, dog, to spare you, but you wouldn't let me, would you? Damn you, you wouldn't let me. So he could have been a great ally. And Conan's maddened old friend seems to have recovered his wits. And they're able to finally talk. And he tells him that the treasure that everyone has sought was thrown into the Viliette Sea. So a nice ironic ending. And here we have an Alcala pinup, which is cool. Now we're on to issue 29, Child of Sorcery. Great cover by Ernie Chan here, who we're going to see later. Actually, how about now? As this is a cover by Ernie Chan, how often does that happen in Savage Sword? Almost never. Cover by Ernie Chan, interiors by Ernie Chan. So this is going to be our first Ernie Chan in Savage Sword of Conan, I believe, or some of our first, at least the first full story. Script by Roy Thomas, art Ernie Chan, from a story by Christy Marks. So Ernie Chan, often known for his incredible inking, is an extremely accomplished penciler and storyteller with a very heavy, strong line, as you can see here. And he is delivering the goods in this story. Amazing full-page storytelling here. Ernie Chan was great at drawing cosmic horror, the sort of monsters that Conan would sometimes encounter, as well as just regular beasts too, and dinosaurs and things like that. This is a nice sequence here too. I love this inset medallion piece here. No, in the name of the dark gods, don't. I'll give you anything you want, anything. And Conan hacks him down. He saves this woman and takes his reward. Though I had been sheltered from matters of the flesh, I found I could not control the pounding of my blood and flew into his arms. So, again, in Savage Sword, just as in the regular comic and the stories, Conan is good with the ladies. And this woman is left as Conan leaves and continues his adventuring life. Now we're on to issue 30. Cover art by Frank Brunner. Nice pinup by Vicente Alcazar, who I believe he inked one of the Conan annuals I covered on this. And this is back-to-back crazy. We have a cover artist doing the interior as Frank Brunner is doing the art on the Scarlet Citadel story, this is fantastic. Brunner did not do a bunch of Savage Swords issues, but the ones he did are phenomenal. Oh yeah, here's Conan held captive. Really great. And of course, our second giant serpent of the issue appears. I love these long, skinny panels on this page. And the serpents within that sorcerer's eyes are creepy. And of course, Conan has got to figure out, oh, this guy. As he watches a dark, naked figure glide in, bearing in one hand a huge sword, in the other a bunch of keys. Long have I wished to meet you, Amra. The black speaks in a seacoast dialect Conan knows, and uses a name by which Conan was known by the Kushites in his piratical days, years ago as Amra the Lion. So this guy's trying to broker a deal here with the keys and the sword, but unfortunately that giant serpent grabs him from the darkness, but he drops the keys and Conan is able with his foot in this great panel to hook them. and free himself. So in this case, so far, he didn't even have to fight the serpent. Oh, and here he definitely makes his bend bars, lift gates check. For all you old D&D fans out there. Supernatural beast. Great work, Frank Brunner, on this. This is top notch. It would have been awesome to see what Frank Brunner did. Another bending bars feat. With an extended run on Savage Sword. Even if he would have done every other issue for a while. But I think he was doing a lot of commercial art, book covers, things like that. So at some point, a talent like Frank Brunner, he became almost too big time for regular comics. Oh, love that pterodactyl. Conan rides it. King Conan, I should say, as he's going to recover his crown here. Sothos the wizard. Oh, that's incredible. His head is literally ripped from his body, and his headless body is chasing after. Oh my goodness, totally great. Here's a Chaykin cover on issue 31. And we're back to John Buscema and Tony DeZanuga. I like this too, this sort of light armor they have Conan in this story. Beautiful and subtle work here by DeZanuga. You can definitely see shades of his later Arak work in this. This panel here seems almost to be more Tony DeZanuga than John Buscema. And in fact, this whole page feels like more Tony than John. Definitely see the strong Buscema figure work on this opposing page, more so than the facing one. Oh, look at this amazing full page. Intro to part 2, The Black Country. Conan in this story is almost more lithe and less bulky than he appears in other stories. I really do feel like this is probably Buscema layouts with DeZanuga finishes. And I don't think the credits actually clearly indicate where one starts and the other begins. It just says art John Buscema and Tony DeZanuga. So I feel like Buscema must have laid this story out pretty loosely. I've seen some of Buscema's layouts. They can be very loose. So we're getting a lot of DeZanuga in these finishes that are being done in this story. Oh, that's nice right there too. Conan giving up his weapon so he can be taken to the leader. Bold enough to face him unarmed. Confident in his ability to broker the best deal for himself. Oh, I like this too. What a great bit of storytelling here. Oh, this woman's beautiful. Wow. What a great harem scene we have here. Even the little prosaic things like this guy drinking from this goblet, it just really cool. Conan eating a haunch of meat. We got this woman with the Princess Leia style hair, very cool. We get another one of these classic John Buscema open page combat sequences. Very well finished by DeZanuga. Oh my gosh, this is so great. He thinks he sees an opening in his unknown assailant's defense. He is wrong for a first and final time. Oh man, that is brutal. He half cuts his head off. Oh, this is a gorgeous panel here. Wow. This other woman here is dressing up that guy's outfit. Oh, these figures are so great. So this one's going to continue into the next issue, 32. Nice cover by Val Merrick there. Dino Castrillo does this pinup. The Ghouls of Yanadar. John Buscema and Tony DeZanuga again on the art. Roy Thomas on the script. We get a lengthy recap. And then into the action here. Oh, yeah. That feels a lot like almost all of the Zanuga there. Once again, Conan bending bars. Not a man easily held captive. Oh, this is great. As he runs, carrying a burden most men could not even lift, a storm of arrows strikes the corpse, and Conan underneath feels the impact as if the body were being pounded with sledgehammers. This is incredible. Wow. Conan, ever the resourceful problem solver. Uh-oh. Once he finds a partly effaced track, not unlike the print of a bare, misshapen human foot. Could we be seeing an ape in our future, or an ape-like being? Oh, yes. Wow, look at that. Man. It is like the ghoulish incarnation of a terrible legend, clad in flesh and bone, like the huge man-apes, which hunt the mountains around the Vidyat Sea. Yet even larger, its pale gray fur longer and shaggier than any ape's. Oh, this might be one of my favorite pages in the first 3 volumes so far. It just, wow. And Conan, what's he do? He basically hacks its hand half off. Oh, and there it is hanging off as they meet again in battle. It's vicious. Oh, this is great. For an instant now, the scream of the beast deafens him as those foaming jaws gape above his head. The man arches himself away from those deadly fangs as far as he can, yet they come closer, closer. Then he gets swatted away. I guess the blood loss, from the multiple stab wounds kills the beast. Man, that fight was worth the price of admission alone. I think the book was still just $1 at this point, which, my gosh. I own a large subset of the Savage Sword individual magazine issues. So I might have to track this one down just to have it in magazine form, just to get at the full effect. Oh, this poor woman is being tortured here. Conan shows up. Cleaves this guy's guards, protects the woman. And he's going to go after the vizier here, or whoever this guy is, but he tries to ensorcel Conan. He's obviously some kind of sorcerer. The woman cries out and distracts him, actually saving Conan, breaking his concentration. Oh, great. How many times has Conan hurled his broadsword with deadly accuracy? At least a half a dozen in our first 3 volumes. I don't think throwing swords is normally a very effective attack, but Conan is capable of striking with great accuracy when hurling his sword. And here we see Conan the Archer again. Siege machine there. Oh, yeah, now we get some zombies as Conan and his Kozaki allies have to battle our titular foes here. From every side, hordes of slinking gray shadows with unblinking soulless eyes and misshapen dog-like jaws are suddenly swarming. Oh, these next few pages are great. Wow, look at this. This action is absolute artistry on the page. And of course, Conan gets the gal at the end. This is a name I don't remember seeing. I don't know if we'll see it again. Look, I was going to say this looks like Ernie Chan a little bit, but it is Jess Jodloman. Very cool. And we get another Earl Norham cover for issue 33. And I own this issue. This is a great issue. So this is Gene Colan and Pablo Marcos. Very cool. I think I got this it wasn't an issue that I sought out. It was something that came with a batch of other Savage Swords I was getting in an eBay auction. So this was kind of a throw-in. And we don't get to see a lot of Gene Colan in Savage Sword, but I kind of like his Conan. It was a nice break. Sort of nice change-up. Not that I don't love Buscema, Desanuga, Alcala, but it's cool in this sort of format to see other artists come in. And Gene Colan is a brilliant black and white artist. His style, his brooding style, very well lends itself to this medium. Who is the inker on? Oh, Pablo Marcos is our inker on this. You can this blob-like monster in this issue is really cool. Again, very Lovecraftian, very much something out of D&D. Conan barely escapes this trap set by this evil wizard who he was traveling with, who didn't really know his true nature until he betrayed him. Next up, Lair of the Ice Worm, covered by Ernie Chan. Interior by Carmine Infantino and Alfredo Alcala. I have said on the show before, I'm not a big Carmine Infantino fan, but Alfredo Alcala tames his wayward pencils in this issue, and we get a pretty fun story. So that is what I meant when I said about this volume, volume 3, being so eclectic. You get a ton of different versions of Conan in these stories, and they're all really fun and accomplished. You take a penciler like Infantino, who by this point I think had lost his fastball, more so in the 80s, but at the end of the 70s still, and you pair him with an Alcala, and you get a really nice result. Another Ernie Chan cover here, Savage Sword 35. And we get Ernie Chan interiors, full pencils and inks. And this is great. A few artists excel at battle scenes greater than Ernie Chan. I mean, he is just masterful when it comes to Hyborian military conflict. The figure work is so strong, so confident. The lines are incredibly thick. And he certainly can draw a beautiful woman too. I put nothing past Buscema in that department, but Ernie Chan rivals him. His women are gorgeous. And his ability to draw magical imagery, effects, the power of sorcery, also phenomenal. Oh, he pulls this mask off and look, this crone is underneath. Oh, and that's so great. The thing opens its third eye. Oh, what a panel. Wow. That could be something out of an EC horror comic. There is such mastery in these pages. Folks, if you can find these volumes, track them down and buy them. They're not getting any cheaper, so do it now. Do it yesterday. Nice Carl Potts, Pablo Marcos pinup here. Chapter 13, another classic adaptation, Hawks over Shem, Earl Norham. Pound for pound, the best Savage Sword cover artist in my mind is Earl Norham. He's just great. Here we're back to Buscema and Alcala for Hawks over Shem, based on the story by Robert E. Howard and L. Sprague de Camp. So this might be our last story of this volume, so I'm just going to sort of fly through it. Very good stuff here. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh yeah, some Kushite warriors here. I love their war chieftain, very cool. Conan looking great in that cape. He's been bending bars and lifting gates quite a bit in this volume. This is at least the 4th time I think we've seen it. The Hyborian metalsmiths and engineers are going to have to come up with some better, stronger bars to resist Conan. Oh, I love this chick here. She looks great. I love her hair. Oh no, she meets a grisly end here. And Conan has to fight the chieftain, but again with the thrown sword, this time with a fragment of a sword. This guy's undone by magics. Oh, this poor woman. I don't know, maybe she gets away. In the end, Conan wins. Beautiful double-page map by Tim Conrad. So at the very end, we get a little Tim Conrad, which is cool. That's it, folks. That's volume 3 of Dark Horse's Savage Sword of Conan, published in 2008. Long out of print. Conan fans, it's a must-have. I know Titan has started a new Savage Sword with newsprint. I bought the first issue. I was actually more impressed with the second story, Patrick Zurcher's Solomon Kane story, than the first Conan story. But I reserve judgment. I'm going to get the next one. I want that format to succeed, so I'm going to support it. But in the meantime, track these Savage Sword collections down from Dark Horse if you can, if your pocketbook will bear it. And in the meantime, join me back here for another installment of Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.